Chapter 4 Ghost Story. It was when he had a short leave that I rode on his back around the table. 2 weeks respite, and after war he was again, this time to the Russian front as an artilleryman. My father said to my mother, "This time I somehow know I won't be back again." I can imagine how heartbreaking those words must have sounded. Did he have a premonition? Wasn't any soldier, sailor, or airman that ever went to war in the same boat wondering the same thing? One day, my mother and I went visiting some relatives in town. My mother was fidgety the whole day. When we got home, she was afraid, but of what? She would look under the bed, into the closets, just any spot a person could hide in. She was unable to go to sleep. The church tower clock struck 2 o'clock. Then there was a knock at the top of the stairs, just outside the bedroom door. A halting voice called my mother's name. "Wally, Wally." My mother went to look, but there was nobody there. Apprehensively, she went back to bed when the same thing happened once again. Back out into the hall, to the steps. Nobody, nothing. She looked out through all the windows. There was a full moon, but she saw nobody. About 1 week later, a black-rimmed letter informed her that my father had been killed just about at the time my mother had this strange experience. It was 1941, when I was 4 years old. We lived upstairs at my grandparents' house. My grandparents were living on the main floor downstairs. My grandmother never really liked my mother. She was super old-fashioned, wearing dark clothes and her hair in a tight bun. A nosy busybody, she often stood by the window, drumming the sill with her fingers, and criticized the passers-by. We lived in a little village in southern Germany, where everybody coming from somewhere else was an intruder. My mother fitted that category perfectly. In addition, she spoke the very different dialect of Thuringia. My grandfather was a tall, quiet man, and my short, temperamental grandmother fitted right under his armpit. My father, Jacob, was the only boy of 4 siblings. 2 of his sisters, Babette and Frida, married and both moved to Stuttgart. Elise took quite a different route in her life. She was a hotel employee in Hamburg, in northern Germany, where she met a Japanese lawyer, whom she married. They moved to New York and eventually to Japan. Mama said she even had her eyelids done to look more Japanese, as she looked a bit Asian to start with. There was talk that her lawyer husband was a spy. Was he? Mama said that she wrote Elise a letter, which was returned with numerous Japanese stamps on it. Elise was never heard of again. I did not know her, but saw a picture of her in Japan, where she stood smiling with a German shepherd dog on each side. She did indeed look Asian and very pretty. She had sent us a beautiful silkscreen picture, which to this day hangs on our living room wall. My aunts and uncles in Stuttgart I saw very seldom as a child. They might as well have been strangers living on the other side of the planet. Babette's husband, I can remember seeing him once. I think he was another war casualty. My grandparents had a little sculpture of an elephant on a cabinet. I recollect to compare its toenails with my grandfather's big front teeth. They looked so much the same. Often, when I came downstairs, my grandmother would shoo me back upstairs. I was just an extension of her stranger daughter-in-law. I soon became aware of who wore the pants in this house. Things did not go well, especially after Fence Omar moved in with us. Uncle Ernst, the youngest of my mother's brother, also had been interned. This had left her alone in Thuringia. I was 5 years old at the time when we moved out, from the fry pan into the fire.